Hello, it's DelusionDispeller back today. Because I have a few more things to say about the 12 tribes, and then I'm going to let this little section of video go. I just got finished very closely browsing through two of the 12 tribes training manuals for the family and the children, and I honestly have to say, in a very balanced way, a lot of what Eldon Spriggs taught, in principle, makes sense, and some of it is even biblical. The issue I have is that he believes children are these little created beings that are to be controlled by parents and by this group of people called the 12 tribes. And as far as I understand God and Yahweh to be, he gave us the right to choose things, not to be forced and compelled by beating with a rod to do what we want them to do. Words like bending their neck, breaking them, control, breaking the rebellion, turning them to your will, all that kind of stuff, that's not biblical. That's not God's love. And so, what Mr. Lee seems to be defending is that these children turn out well because of this quote unquote discipline, this spanking that goes on. Um, I guess what I have to say about that is, of course. Of course, a child is going to sit at the dinner table with their hands folded and be quiet or have engage in logical conversation to the extent that their brains have developed, which unfortunately 12 tribes members are not taught and given a public education or even a private Christian education like everybody else in the world is. They're told to believe their teachings, and that's what they're taught. They're not taught normal everyday stuff about history and science and the world and whatever. And granted, Mark, I'll give you this. I think a lot of garbage is taught in the public schools. And I say that as somebody who works in a public school. There's a lot of stuff allowed in public schools, even news broadcasts that are shown to teenagers, that I disagree with. There's a lot of junk out there. By protecting children and secluding them in a group and saying we're only going to allow you to know what we know and to learn what we want you to learn, there's safety in that. I'll give you that. However, when a baby is born and you force their neck down like this because you decide that this child is going to obey me no matter what, so you got that baby, you're going to do what I tell you to do, even if they don't say it, that's what they're saying. I'm going to hold your neck like this. You're not going to move 1 inch until I decide that your body is limp enough that it's complying with what I want you to do. That's insanity and it's abusive. You don't have a right to touch another person's body, even your own child, and force them into a painful, restrained position because you decide they should obey you. Now, granted, I know there are schools that use restraint systems. I have worked in schools that do this. There is a time and a place for everything. If a child is being violent to other people or to themselves, then yes, there are restraint holds they need to be put in. Certain autistic children are put in restraint holds. But there is a line that gets crossed sometimes with these types of things where it becomes abuse. And I've also learned about those situations. And I think what you need to look at is 12 tribes crossing that line by the way they're going about enforcing their belief system. I believe they are many times. Do I believe every single person in the 12 tribes is abusive? No, I don't. Because I think people can take rules and put their own twist on things. However, when I read this manual, it's pretty clear that Spriggs' plan for disciplining children was to abuse them. He said, hit them hard enough. If you don't hit them hard enough, it's like teasing them. It's like not giving them a clear message. You have to make it hurt. Saying stuff like that is disturbing. I'm not saying a spanking should be pleasant because spankings do hurt. But to the extent that people in the 12 tribes have been hurting their children to where these people as adults are coming back and talking about seeing little babies, 6-month old, bleeding all over the place, The gentlemen, two of them that were ex-12 Tribes members, talking about how the one came home and saw his daughter barely able to look up at him because there were welts from head to toe all over her body. That's abuse, Mark. You can't define that any other way than abuse. So that's what I'm looking at, is how far is too far? And I believe that the 12 tribes teachings are telling parents to go way too far. They're telling them that these little innocent human beings are yours to do as you want with, to make them, when they grow up, to be what you want them to be. If you decide they're going to be a woodworker, bam, this is what you're doing. I don't care that, you seem to have affiliation with art and you want to go a different way. You're going to be a woodworker because we say that. So I have to equate the 12 tribes a lot with communism. Because honestly, that's what the communists did. And that's what a lot of communist countries do. They say, well, you're really good in this, so that's what you're going to be. You like to, um, I don't know, dissect animals or whatever. So you're going to be a scientist. Or you're really athletic and you can bend your body. So we're going to form you into a gymnast. And not only that, these countries force children to be gymnasts to the point where they will come over when a kid is in a split and sit on top of them to split their legs farther, to make them more limber, or whatever stupidity they justify that with. Abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter whether it's 12 tribes, another country, or whatever. Abuse is abuse, or even in someone's personal own home. And what I'm saying is 12 tribes, their teachings are encouraging abuse, Mark. They are. I've posted a bunch of them here. You asked which section? Read it. Have you read their child raising manuals? And can you honestly say you agree with the brute force that Eldon Spriggs wants people to use on their children? I don't think so. I mean, if you're a godly father and someone that loves your children, you're not going to be okay exerting the force that Eldon is talking about. You're just not. And you grew up in this world out here. Now you're going into a place that teaches totally different. But you're going to sit there and tell me, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. They're great people. These children are so well balanced and well behaved. And they work hard and they love their work. They have to. They're beaten if they don't. They're taught from the time they're babies, this is what you're doing. And if you even dare say anything about not doing it, you're going to get hit with the balloon stick. Anybody that's trained that way is going to be well behaved in public and watch what they say and say all the right things and do all the right things. So, does that justify abuse? Does that justify, oh, well, we have this great commune here where all their children are perfect little gentlemen and ladies? They would never say dirt if they had a mouthful. They're too darn scared to, Mark. They're too scared or they're too programmed. By now, they're probably programmed. They were scared when it first started happening, I'm sure, but they soon learned that I'm stuck here. These are my Ima and my Ama or whatever, Abba, and this is what I have to do to survive in this place. But I can tell you that deep down inside, those children don't like it. And deep down inside, those children do not care about the fact that they're being shaped into what Yahweh wants them shaped into, except that they're told that they have to care about it. Children don't want to be hit and abused. They don't. Children don't want to be told, well, I'm sorry you want to be an architect, you're going to be this instead, because that's what Yahweh is telling me as your parent that you need to be doing. And you're going to go to these church services or these meetings, and you're going to sit there, and you're going to behave, and if I have to look at you a certain way, then you know what that means. We're going behind the door, and you know. That's no way to raise a child. In fear? No. Sorry, don't agree with it. I'm disturbed, like I said, if you agree with this kind of child raising, but it's very, very disturbing to me and needs to be stopped. Period. Not saying break up the commune and the cult, whatever. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions and beliefs, but when it crosses the line from discipline into abuse and forcing little children and babies to do what the will of an adult is and to be who they say they have to be and want them to be, that's just wrong. People have a right to make their own decision about their lives. So that's where you and I will definitely disagree.